A straightforward narrative has been told to us for many years. The daring inventor Apple was the company of visionaries who wore black turtlenecks and transformed technology into art. Apple was synonymous with innovation. On the other hand, Microsoft was portrayed as the clumsy imitator, a dinosaur that was lumbering into irrelevance as a result of missing out on the success of the smartphone revolution. Up until the 2010s, it appeared that the tale was over. Apple had become the most lucrative and admired corporation in the world under the leadership of Tim Cook, whereas Microsoft was considered to be a relic. However, what if that account is not accurate? What if, while the world was charmed by Apple's brilliance, something entirely different was happening behind closed doors in Redmond, Washington? Imagine for a moment that the corporation that everyone believed had already lost the technological war that has been going on for the past 10 years was actually the one who emerged victorious. 1 year ago, or even 5 years ago, Apple did not plant the seeds that would eventually grow into its current problems. They revert to the time when Apple was at the pinnacle of its dominance, when the iPhone was unparalleled and the company appeared to be unbeatable. At that moment, the paradox known as the innovator's dilemma softly closed its mouth. When you are too successful at one thing, you are unable to perceive the world changing around you. This is a problem that has been around for as long as business itself. Think of a restaurant that is known for having the best pepperoni pizza in the entire world. In the process of perfecting its crust and cheese, it becomes so proficient that it is oblivious to the fact that a taco truck is pulling up across the street. In a short amount of time, the crowd will start forming a queue for tacos, and the pizza place, despite the fact that it is still quite good, will be left behind. Do you agree that this is exactly what occurred with Apple? The danger was something that Steve Jobs recognized better than nearly everyone else. He cautioned that businesses need to be willing to destroy their own products before they are destroyed by another party. Despite this, it appeared like Apple did exactly what Jobs had dreaded when Steve passed away. Under Tim Cook, the corporation perfected what already worked. Year after year, improvements were made to the iPhone. Services expanded and profits skyrocketed. On the other hand, was Apple truly constructing the future, or was it merely guarding the past? In the past 10 years, Apple has made some of the most significant actions. But what exactly was the Apple Watch, and how did it come to be so popular? This is not the next great platform. Rather, it is an attachment for the iPhone. Although the Vision Pro headset made news, the price tag of $3,500 makes it difficult to imagine how many individuals could actually purchase one. Even the most brilliant engineering achievements of Apple, like the company's M-series CPUs, were successes inside the framework of the traditional paradigm of personal gaming. They made the pizza better, but they weren't building tacos. Then, the change that no one could afford to miss came along, and it was none other than artificial intelligence. Over the course of 20 years, our relationship with technology was centered on use of applications. You decided to use DoorDash since you were hungry. You decided to use Uber since you needed a ride. What happens, however, when the app itself is no longer available? When you simply say, "Book me a flight for tomorrow and order my usual pizza for dinner," and your artificial intelligence assistant performs everything for you in a quiet and unobtrusive manner, what happens? Simply put, that is not a brand new function. It is a whole new platform, and it is a new method of connecting with the digital world. Regardless of who controls that assistance, the future is in their hands. The question is, why did Apple allow Siri to continue to be treated as a joke during this crucial time? Why, during its conference in 2025, did the business choose to unveil relatively insignificant additions, such as an artificial intelligence exercise partner, rather than the revolutionary new Siri that everyone had been anticipating? And why did Apple have to declare on stage that it was still not ready, despite having promised that it will eventually develop its own innovative system? In the meantime, Microsoft's Copilot had already integrated itself into the workflows of millions of people all over the world. Apple did not only fall, rather, it fell years behind in its competitors. This is a harsh truth. As a matter of fact, it was necessary for it to swallow its pride and form a partnership with OpenAI in order to continue competing. This was an astounding admission that it was unable to construct a competitive system on its own. Microsoft, on the other hand, was in the process of implementing a revolution that was so fundamental that very few people outside of Redmond saw it until it was too late. At the time that Satya Nadella became CEO of Microsoft in 2014, the company was regarded as being bloated, pompous, and even out of date. Nadella, however, did more than merely fix the company. He changed the company's DNA. It was clear to him that the future did not lie in adhering to traditional markets, but rather in laying the groundwork for the digital age foundation. His initial move was to bet the entire firm on the cloud. A business line was not the only thing Azure was. It became the invisible infrastructure that powered everything from banking to streaming, and it became the backbone of the modern world with its existence. After laying that groundwork, Microsoft was prepared to move on to the next step, which was artificial intelligence. And this is the point at which the narrative takes a dramatic turn. Microsoft did not experiment with artificial intelligence. By integrating GPT technology directly into Microsoft 365, it is completely committed to the endeavor. Suddenly, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint were no longer only tools. Rather, they assumed the role of intelligent partners. It would be amazing if you could create a report with only one sentence, or if your spreadsheet could perform analysis on its own. There was no feature for this. It was a paradigm shift in the way that work is carried out. There was a meteoric rise in adoption due to the fact that Microsoft placed artificial intelligence precisely where billions of people currently spend their time. However, Microsoft was purchasing entire empires at the same time as Apple was purchasing Beats headphones for $3 billion. LinkedIn provided it with the definitive map of the workforce across the continent. GitHub was successful in gaining the devotion of developers all around the world. Activision Blizzard granted it a massive library of content and direct access to hundreds of millions of users. The bricks that were being used to construct the walls were not bricks. Rather, they were armies that were stretching Microsoft's reach into completely new realms. Additionally striking was the shift in societal norms. There was a time when Microsoft was a closed, antagonistic, and even combative company. Under Nadella's leadership, the corporation reaffirmed its commitment to open-source software, reaffirmed its passion for Linux, and re-established its trust with the developer community. When compared to Apple's well-known walled garden, which is notoriously rigid, and even petty techniques such as refusing to implement universal texting standards in order to safeguard iMessage lock-in, there is a significant difference. Which culture do you believe the most brilliant minds in artificial intelligence would choose to work in? Which one is more concerning? The one of openness and collaboration, or the one of control and secrecy? Now we are getting to the meat and potatoes of the issue. Two different ideas are embodied by Apple and Microsoft. Tim Cook is the man who gets up at 4 in the morning to examine worldwide sales figures. He is the operator, the perfectionist, and the man who is who he is. His Apple was a great example of efficiency and self-control. Nevertheless, vision is not the same thing as efficiency. Satya Nadella, on the other hand, took upon himself a deteriorating empire and gambled everything on a transformational enterprise. He did not improve upon the past. Rather, he constructed the future. To answer this question, consider the following. In an era characterized by artificial intelligence, which strategy is more likely to prevail? Which of the two companies, the one that established an open platform that connects consumers, businesses, and developers into a single, intelligent fabric, or the one that perfected its closed ecosystem to perfection? The verdict is hard to avoid. The most recent technological period was mastered by Apple. On the other hand, Microsoft has already laid the groundwork for the subsequent. Azure is now the most powerful supercomputer in the world. The use of Copilot has become ingrained in the routines of millions of people. Both GitHub and LinkedIn offer systems that facilitate the flow of data and developers. Collectively, they constitute an ecology that appears to be unstoppable. In the meantime, Apple appears to be becoming ensnared in a golden cage that it has constructed for itself. It is now in danger of being left behind by the very tactics that helped it become unbeatable in the past. The future that Microsoft has been quietly building for the past 10 years is not years away. Rather, it is now here. It is already here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.